You're watching South Asia Newsline, and here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Monday, the 16th of June. PM Modi receives Cyprus top honor, diaspora hopeful about Canada visit. Ahmedabad hospital authorities identify 87 Air India crash victims. And Sri Lanka has no room for policy errors in economic reforms, says IMF. And now for all the details. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi was on Monday honoured with the highest civilian award of Cyprus during his historic visit to the island nation. Meanwhile, hopes are high among the Indian diaspora as he is set to attend the G7 summit in Canada, a move seen as a possible reset in strained Indo-Canadian ties.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was on Monday conferred with Cyprus's highest civilian honour, the Grand Cross of the Order of Makarios III, by President Nikos Christodoulides during his visit to the island nation as part of a three-nation tour. This marks the first-ever visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Cyprus. The two sides also held delegation-level talks aimed at boosting cooperation in trade, technology and culture. Meanwhile, members of the Indian diaspora in Canada and the US are hopeful of PM Modi's visit to Canada to attend the G7 summit. They view it as a potential turning point in strained India-Canada ties, especially over the Khalistan issue.
Our Prime Minister Mark Carney has invited Mr. Narendra Modi from India, which is a welcome step. There have been issues between India and Canada in the past few years, and I hope during this meeting, things are sorted out and a new path is chosen whereby both the countries develop and prosper. We need to have better relationship in trade, in investments, technology, and both India and Canada can prosper by this.
Diaspora members and analysts alike are hopeful this could pave the way for renewed cooperation between the two countries.
The invitation to Prime Minister Modi for the G7 summit, despite India not being a member, underscores India's growing global influence as the world's most populous country and fourth largest economy. The diaspora sees this as a recognition of India's pivotal role in global supply chain and its importance to the world economy.
Meanwhile, a leading analyst in New York has warned that Canada's inaction on Khalistani extremism is damaging its global reputation and straining ties with India. A report.
Puneet Sahani, a New York-based security analyst and expert on Khalistani terrorism, has expressed concern over Canada's handling of separatist elements. He said the country's failure to act decisively against Khalistani extremism is damaging its international credibility. He added that the indoctrination of Canadian-born youth into extremist ideologies is especially alarming.
Because, these Khalistanis have infiltrated all organs of the Canadian state. And if you see, so their influence is increasing. So they have taken young kids, who have never lived in India, who don't know anything. And they are pumping with hatred of Bharat and of Hindus. And that's why you see the most radical Khalistanis, is Trump's lawyer, Harmeet Dillon. She's actually never lived in India. So these people who have never lived in India, they don't know how Hindus and Sikhs live. They are just brainwashed.
The remarks come as Canada's PM Mark Carney has invited his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi for G7 summit this week. Bilateral ties deteriorated after former PM Justin Trudeau accused India of involvement in the killing of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar and of attempting to interfere in past elections. In a tit-for-tat move, both sides expelled their diplomats after Ottawa linked India to the murder and alleged a broader effort to target Indian dissidents in Canada.
And hospital authorities in India said on Monday that they have identified 87 victims in last week's Air India crash. 47 families have collected the bodies of their relatives who died in the crash, a senior doctor at Ahmedabad Civil Hospital said. Health workers were seen transporting coffins containing the remains of the victims to hand them over to relatives at the hospital. The London-bound Boeing 787 Dreamliner crashed on 12th of June into the residential facility of a local hospital in Ahmedabad. Of the 242 passengers and crew on board, Air India later confirmed that only one passenger had survived.
हमारे यहाँ से शव ले जाने वाले की संख्या 47 है। बाकी जो पेंडिंग है उसमें से 13 लोग अभी D4 में वेटिंग में चल रहे हैं। दूसरे 2 घंटे में 8 लोग और आ रहे हैं। दूसरे शव की या दूसरे रिश्तेदार की DNA कंफर्मेशन के लिए वेट कर रहे हैं। वैसे हमारे पास यहाँ पर 12 लोग हैं और फैमिली के साथ डिस्कशन करके आने वाले 11 लोग हैं।
Earlier on Sunday, relatives in complete disarray conducted last rites of their loved ones killed in the crash. Air India and the Indian government are looking at several aspects of the crash, including issues linked to its engine thrust, flaps, and why the landing gear remained open as the plane took off and then came down. And in a milestone move, Nepal has begun exporting 40 megawatts of electricity to Bangladesh through India's power grid in its first move to the international energy market, positioning India as a central facilitator of regional electricity trading. Nepal is also exporting 80 megawatts to Bihar in India, and the power exports had unlocked a 5,000 megawatts export market for the country, informed Nepal's Energy Minister Deepak Khadka on platform X. The Bangladesh-Nepal power transaction follows a tripartite agreement signed in October between Nepal Electricity Authority, Bangladesh Power Development Board, and India's NTPC Vidyut Vyapar Nigam, reported Reuters. India currently exports electricity to Nepal, Bangladesh and Myanmar while importing power from Nepal and Bhutan, and plans to integrate its grid with Sri Lanka, further strengthening regional integration. This development comes as Nepal rapidly expands its hydropower capacity, with Indian hydropower producer SGVN currently developing the 900 megawatt Arun 3 project in the Himalayan country. While in April, Power Grid Corporation of India and the Nepal Electricity Authority agreed to implement high-capacity cross-border transmission infrastructure to enhance energy trade in the region. Moving on, Sri Lanka has made substantial progress on an IMF-supported economic reform program, but more work is needed to reduce its 24.5% poverty rate, tackle corruption and reduce domestic debt, a senior official told Reuters on Monday. In remarks prepared for a conference in Colombo, Gita Gopinath, first Deputy Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, has informed that Sri Lanka and other small open economies also now faced major risks given tariffs, geopolitical conflict and economic fragmentation. That is why there is no room for policy errors for Sri Lanka, she said. She noted that about half of Sri Lanka's 16 past IMF programs had ended prematurely, with reform fatigue setting in and hard-won gains being reversed. She further informed that substantial progress has been made to restore macroeconomic stability and reduce hardships faced by people, citing renewed availability of fuel, cooking gas and medicines, an economic growth of 5% in 2024 and a sharp increase in tax revenues. Sri Lanka, which plunged into financial crisis due to a record shortage of dollars 3 years ago, has recovered strongly since securing a 4-year program from the global lender in March 2023. The country in April reached a staff-level agreement with the IMF on a 4th review of the bailout package, which will give it access to about $344 million in financing upon board approval. And months after the deadly terrorist attack on tourists in Pahalgam, authorities in India's Jammu and Kashmir have begun reopening tourist sites to revive tourism in the region. Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha announced the reopening of 8 major tourist sites, including Betaab Valley, Verinag and Kokernag on Saturday. Locals and tourists welcomed the decision and were seen taking selfies and enjoying in the valley with families. Kashmir, known for its beauty, is nestled in the Himalayas with lofty peaks, picturesque valleys and grand Mughal-era gardens. On 22nd of April, terrorists attacked tourists in the Pahalgam, killing 26 men based on religion, which was followed by India's Operation Sindoor against terror outfits in Pakistan.
ये मेरे हिसाब से ये डिसीजन सही है गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से, बिकॉज अगर टूरिज़्म नहीं होगा तो इन लोगों को भी कैसे मतलब इन लोगों के लिए भी कैसे पॉसिबल हो पाएगा. हमें कल भी कोई लोग मिले, मतलब ऐसे यहाँ पे वो सामान बेच रहे थे, वो लोग भी बड़े परेशान से लग रहे थे बिकॉज दुकान शॉप्स वगैरह बंद है, टूरिस्ट नहीं आ रहा है. तो गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से अच्छा इनिशिएटिव है कि आहिस्ता आहिस्ता करके और फुल सिक्योरिटी के साथ ये वो पार्क्स वगैरह खोलें ताकि टूरिज़्म और बढ़े.
यकीन दिलाया ऑनरेबल एलजी साहब ने कि आज 7 जगह जो है कश्मीर में वो खोल दिए जाएंगे. और शुक्र है, थैंक गॉड, कि पहलगाम की हमने बात की, कोकरनाग की हमने बात की, वेरीनाग की हमने बात की. अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह वो सारी जगह खुल गई. इवन बेताब वादी जो हमारी है वो भी खुल गई. यात्रा भी शुरू होने वाली है. इट्स अ पॉजिटिव नोट. और आने वाले वक्त में इंशाल्लाह बाकी जितने भी टूरिस्ट डेस्टिनेशन से धीरे धीरे इंशाल्लाह रहमान वो भी खुल जाएंगे. और
That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.